Welcome to the deep dive. We're jumping headfirst today into a really fascinating stack of source material.
We are. It's notes and recollections, basically, from a writer looking back at his childhood.
In a town called Hallam.
Right. And these aren't just, simple stories. They're described as these rich layers of memory, sometimes confusing, sometimes really insightful.
And it all got kicked off by a specific request, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly. The writer, he's an adult now, and two old friends from childhood get in touch.
Friends who've done pretty well for themselves. One's a famous musician now. The other is actually the chairman of Hallam town.
Right. And they ask him to write something, a memoir piece, for the town's 35th anniversary.
Simple request, you'd think, but no.
Not at all. It just completely overwhelmed him. The source uses this great phrase like having a bomb ready, but you can't find the fuse.
Yeah. Just too many memories flooding back, right? Didn't know where to even begin. So that's kind of our mission in this deep dive, isn't it? To make sense of that flood. We want to unpack these memories, get a feel for the people and events that shaped his youth there.
And, maybe most importantly, find those little surprising insights, the connections you don't see at first glance.
Find the fuse for that bomb.
Let's do it.
Okay, so the source tells us the breakthrough. The moment he found that fuse, it came completely out of the blue.
Yeah, he was just getting a haircut.
Yeah.
Mundane moment.
And bam, he knows where to start. Mr. Koo, the itinerant barber.
And Mr. Koo isn't just some quirky character. He's described quite starkly as the terror of his childhood.
Yeah, that's strong language, not just, oh, he was a bit scary. Genuine terror.
And you can sort of see why from the description. He was older, maybe around 50, missing his two front teeth.
But the key thing, the really visual thing, was the beetle chewing.
Ah, right. Beetle nut that stains everything red.
So his mouth was always this vivid, almost blood red color.
And his party trick, apparently, was opening his mouth really wide, showing that red void, I guess, just to scare the kids.
Making them scream or cry. Charming.
Right. And what's really interesting is how this wasn't just him being creepy. It seems the adults kind of used it.
Like a local bogeyman?
Exactly. The source says parents would say things like, "Eat quickly or I'll call Mr. Ko."
Wow. So that fear was sort of baked into the town's disciplinary structure almost.
Seems like it. And you can imagine how that image, that specific fear, might lodge itself somewhere deep down.
Even after you stop being scared of the actual man, yeah.
And we'll definitely see how that red mouth thing pops up again later, unexpectedly.
Okay, looking forward to that. Let's shift focus now. The source moves us to 5th grade. Feels like a key year.
Definitely. Because this is when he gets really close with a girl named Thắm.
Tell us about Thắm. The description's quite specific, isn't it?
It is. He says she wasn't, conventionally the prettiest, average-looking dark skin, but he hones in on these details.
Her pigtails.
Yes. 2 braided pigtails. And he remembers how they bounced on her shoulders like 2 little squirrels when she moved.
That's such a great image. And her laugh.
He mentions she laughed a lot and adds this little aside, like later in life, he always found himself drawn to girls who laughed easily.
Interesting. And he also notes her daydreaming, right? Chin on her hand, staring out the window.
Uh-huh. Gives you a real sense of her. And their friendship started simply because, well, they sat next to each other.
Proximity, the great matchmaker of grade school.
Isn't it just?
And that proximity leads to this event he calls the vermicelli incident.
Right. So Thám's family sold vermicelli noodles at the local market.
And our narrator, who apparently wasn't keen on chores,
suddenly becomes very enthusiastic about volunteering to go buy vermicelli every day.
I wonder why.
Obvious, right? Just to get a chance to see her at the market stall.
But this sudden helpfulness doesn't exactly fly under the radar at home.
Not with an older sister around? No. She twigs immediately.
And blurts it out.
Yep. Tells their mother, "It's because he likes Thám, Mom." Just like that.
Ooh. Mortifying.
Totally. He describes his face going red, just wanting the ground to swallow him up.
And the reaction is interesting, not just embarrassment.
No, it turns into this, what he calls unreasonable anger, which is such a perfect kid description.
Directed at who?
Both of them.
Yeah.
His sister, obviously, for outing him, but also at Thám.
For existing.
Pretty much. For being the reason he got embarrassed. It makes no sense, but it feels very real for that age.
And the result?
He stops volunteering for vermicelli duty, completely shuts down, even starts ignoring Thám at school.
Wow. So that childhood crush gets complicated fast? Teasing just throws a total wrench in the works?
Yeah, it shows how vulnerable those feelings are, how easily shame or anger can just derail everything, even turning you against the person you actually like.
Okay, so complex feelings brewing there. Now, the sources bring us back into the classroom. To his teacher, Mrs. Sa.
Right. She's 28, younger than his mom. And the picture painted is of a teacher who, well, she likes the good students.
And dislikes the ones who struggle.
And our narrator is firmly in the struggling camp. He says he'd study, he'd try, but when she called on him, poof, mind blank.
His go-to answer.
I don't know. Every time.
Which must have driven Miss Sa mad.
You imagine. Her frustration led to this regular punishment for him.
Which was?
Picking up trash in the schoolyard during recess.
Okay. Public, a bit humiliating.
Exactly. And this punishment leads to another key moment with Thumb.
What happens?
One day, he's out there doing his trash duty, and it starts absolutely pouring rain.
Oh, wow. And he just stays out there.
Yeah. The source kind of leaves it ambiguous. Was he waiting to be called in? Was he just taking the punishment? Hard to say.
But Thumb doesn't leave him there.
No way. She runs out into the rain, gets totally soaked herself, trying to get him to come inside.
And he refuses.
Yeah. Says he's already drenched. What's the point? Maybe stubbornness, maybe just resignation.
So the aftermath. He gets sick, presumably.
Catches a fever, yeah. And the next morning, Thím actually comes to his house, her first time visiting.
To check on him.
Uh-huh. But she also tells his sister the real reason he was out in the rain.
Not just playing, but being punished.
Right. Because he couldn't answer in class.
Hmm.
So it saves him from getting in trouble with his parents for being irresponsible.
It also reveals his academic struggles to his sister. Another layer of embarrassment.
Exactly. And his sister's reaction is kind of amusing.
How so?
She comes up with these folk reasons for why he's bad at school.
Hmm.
Like he must have been sneaking into the kitchen at night or walking under the clothesline where women's trousers hang.
Haha, old wives' tales. Bless her heart.
Totally.
Hmm.
But the narrator himself suspects something else might have changed things at school around this time.
What's his theory?
He thinks his grandmother might have stepped in. She lived near Mr. Cow, interestingly.
Oh, the barber.
Yeah. And the school principal actually rented a room in the grandmother's house.
Okay, connection there. So he thinks Grandma heard about the constant punishments. Maybe Thumb's story filtered back, or the principal mentioned it?
That's his suspicion, that she had a quiet word with the principal.
And did things change?
They did. Miss Sai just stops the punishment, even though he still struggles with reciting his lessons sometimes.
Huh. So maybe Grandma did intervene.
Possible. And his initial reaction is pure kid logic.
Let me guess. Victory.
Total victory. He thinks he's beaten the Wicked Witch, as he calls her privately.
The simplistic view of childhood. Good versus evil.
But that feeling doesn't last long.
Why not?
Because Thumb, who seems to notice everything,
Sees Miss Sai crying.
exactly, alone in the teacher's room after school,
That would definitely complicate the Wicked Witch narrative.
completely shatters it, and it leads him to feel, well, guilty.
Guilty. Why him?
He jumps to the conclusion that it's his fault. His constant, his inability to learn, that's what's making her so unhappy, making her cry.
Oh, wow. Taking on a lot of responsibility there for a fifth grader.
Isn't he? And he feels like he has to do something, so he kind of nervously goes to the teacher's room.
To confront her. Apologize.
More like investigate, maybe. He peeks through the window first, sees her sitting at her desk, head in her hands, definitely crying.
And he goes in?
He startles her, but she doesn't get angry. She actually invites him in, calls him Khan, which is like an affectionate term, like child or son.
That's surprising. And kind.
Very. And then she does something even more surprising. She starts talking to him, really opening up.
About why she's upset.
Yeah, tells him personal stuff. That she's divorced. That she has a son, his age actually, who is also lazy at school.
Whoa. Heavy stuff for a kid.
Right. And the son now lives with his father. She reflects on how she maybe spoiled him out of pity after the divorce and how that kind of backfired.
And she connects this to him.
Yeah.
To the narrator.
It's implied. Like maybe her experience with her son is why she's so strict with him. Trying not to make the same mistake, perhaps.
Deep. And while he's listening to all this, something clicks.
Yes. The big aha moment. He notices her lipstick.
Red lipstick.
Bright red lipstick. And instantly, powerfully, he is reminded of Mr. Coe.
The barber. The scary red beetle-stained mouth.
Exactly. That buried fear, that image he associated with being scared into silence. He suddenly realizes That's why he freezes up with her in class.
Because her red lipstick triggers the same visceral fear response.
Precisely. It's this unconscious link between the red mouth that terrified him as a small child and the red lips of the teacher demanding an answer he can't give. It's kind of a stunning psychological insight for a kid to have.
Absolutely incredible. It shows how those early fears can just linger and attach themselves to completely unrelated things, messing with us without us even knowing why.
Until something makes that connection visible, like this moment.
So, armed with this sudden self-awareness, what does he do?
He makes this incredibly awkward but brave request.
Don't tell me.
He asks Miss Shea if she could,
Yeah.
maybe, not wear red lipstick anymore.
Oh my God. Did he really?
He really did. Can you imagine?
Her reaction.
Surprise, obviously. But then
Yeah.
she agrees. They even do a pinky promise.
Wow. She must have seen something in his earnestness or maybe his explanation, however he phrased it.
Maybe. Or maybe she was just moved by the whole weird, vulnerable situation.
And the effect? Did it work?
Instantly. Dramatically. When she doesn't wear the red lipstick in class, he can suddenly recite his lessons. No more freezing up.
Unbelievable. The power of suggestion. Or just removing the trigger.
Probably removing the trigger for that specific fear response. It's fascinating.
Does she give up lipstick entirely?
No, the source is clear on that. He sometimes sees her wearing it outside of class, but in the classroom, she keeps her promise.
That's actually really kind of her.
It is. And people notice his improvement. The principal praises him.
And his sister. Still think it's the clothesline.
Yep. She's convinced her superstitions worked, that he's finally stopped sneaking into the kitchen or whatever.
Hilarious. But someone else figures out the real reason, don't they?
Oh, yes. Thumb, ever the observer.
She notices Miss Saw ditched the red lipstick in class.
And she connects the dots straight away. Sees his grades improve, sees the lipstick disappear, and puts two and two together.
And starts grilling him about it.
Relentlessly. Wants to know what he said to Miss Yao, why the lipstick mattered.
And how does he explain this complex psychological breakthrough?
He struggles, obviously.
Yeah.
How do you explain that to another fifth grader? He eventually just tries to shut her down with, it's a boy thing, you wouldn't understand.
The classic deflection. Does it work?
Not really, but it leads the conversation down a different path. She asks him, okay, if he hates red now, what color does he dislike? Try to figure the opposite, maybe.
And he just picks one.
Randomly picks green, just as like the opposite of red. No real reason.
But Thumb's reaction to green.
She's delighted because she loves green, and she actually happens to be wearing a green shirt that day.
Funny how these little coincidences happen. Does it end there?
Oh, no. This random green comment leads to something else.
What?
2 days later, Thumb shows up to school wearing brand new shoes.
Green
Bright green canvas shoes. High tops, 2 straps, even a little butterfly bow. Very specific description.
Wow. And she tells him.
She tells him she bought them because he said he likes green.
Oh, that's incredibly sweet. Based on a random comment he made 2 days before.
Right. He's really touched. It makes him realize, maybe for the first time, that her family's probably quite well off if she can just get new shoes like that.
But it's not about the money, is it?
No, it's about the gesture, how much she values their friendship, this little secret understanding they almost have. He even has this fleeting thought, like, maybe she bought them because he saved her life once.
Which hasn't happened yet in the story, right? That's later.
Yeah, that's later. Shows how his mind is already weaving their shared experiences together.
Does she wear them all the time?
No. She still wears her old white ones sometimes, but the green ones become a thing.
And does seeing her in them actually make him like green?
It does. Seeing her in the green shoes, maybe with the green shirt, it changes his association. Green stops being just a random opposite of red and becomes linked to her, to their friendship. He genuinely starts to like the color.
Amazing how our feelings about things, even colors, are so tied to our experiences and relationships.
Totally. It's all about association.
So their bond is clearly deepening. The source also touches on other typical childhood things, right? Like learning to swim.
Yeah, briefly. He mentions learning with his guy friends, and Try and Fan. Says he got pushed in at first.
Classic.
But Fan was patient and actually taught him properly.
And then he decides to teach them, passing on the knowledge.
Yep. Takes her down to the stream, but it gets a bit awkward again.
How so?
He tries to get her to jump in, but she's too scared. So he ends up having to support her, holding her under her stomach to help her float.
And that brings back the embarrassment, like
Yeah.
the sister teasing him.
Exactly. That physical proximity maybe feels charged or awkward for him again, but she's keen to learn.
Does she get it?
Eventually, yeah. Though he notes she still kind of panics if he lets go without warning.
Fair enough. And their swimming lessons get crashed.
Sort of. They get joined by Chuti-Okoi, a young monk.
A monk swimming with them.
Yeah. Described as maybe slightly annoying tattles on them sometimes, but generally accepted into the group.
Any quirks?
Apparently rides his bike in a funny way. And teases the narrator and Thắm about dating.
Ah, more teasing.
Uh-huh. And interestingly, when learning to swim, the monk didn't want to be supported like Thám. He preferred trying to jump across the stream.
Why is that?
The narrator reflects later that maybe the monk just wasn't comfortable with physical contact.
Interesting detail. And all this is happening as summer approaches.
Yes. The source paints a picture, flamboyant trees blooming red, cicadas starting their noise, grass getting dry and yellow. He says he loves summer, feel like it marks time, marks him growing up, moving to the next grade.
That feeling of summer meaning freedom and growth. Very relatable.
Yeah. But growing up also involves conflict sometimes.
Things take a turn.
There's this one incident. He and Thiem are heading to the stream. Just the two of them this time. No monk.
And they run into trouble.
They get stopped by some older boys. Boys who herd bulls in the area.
Uh-oh. Bullies.
Sounds like it. They demand money. Then they spot some candy he has,
Yeah.
and they basically jump him.
Oh, no. What does Thiem do?
This is where she really shines. She doesn't run. She doesn't freeze.
She fights back.
She finds a stick and just goes for it. Starts whacking the boys on their legs, defending him. Drives them off.
Wow. Good for her. That's incredibly brave.
Totally. Quick thinking, too.
How does he react afterwards?
He's just full of gratitude. Tells her straight up, if you weren't there, I'd be covered in bruises.
And her reaction?
Modest, apparently. Doesn't make a big deal of it.
So do they still go swimming?
No, they decide to just head home after that. Probably shaken up.
Yeah, understandable.
But then Thiem reveals she had something in her pocket the whole time.
Not more candy.
A guava.
Ah.
And they just share it, walking home together after everything that happened.
And he says,
He describes it as the most delicious guava ever.
ah, that shared moment of relief, maybe. Comfort after the scariness, just eating a guava together.
Exactly. It's not a big dramatic thing, but it seals the experience, seals their bond after facing that danger together. Simple, but powerful.
It really is. So, looking back at this whole journey through his memories, it's quite something.
It really is. We started with this, primal childhood fear of a barber's red mouth.
Yeah, Mr. Koo. And saw how that unexpectedly connected to his school struggles, his teacher's sadness, and that whole red lipstick revelation.
Then there's Thém, the pigtails, the laughter, the green shoes. This friendship that deepens through shared secrets, awkward moments, learning to swim.
And even moments of real bravery, like her defending him from those bullies.
It shows how all these threads, fear, friendship, misunderstanding, connection, vulnerability, courage, they're all tangled together. They're not separate boxes. They weave into this complex tapestry of just growing up.
Growing up in this specific place, Ha Lam, with these specific people shaping his world, the sources really bring that feeling across, don't they?
They do. You get a real texture of that childhood.
It definitely makes you pause and think, doesn't it, about your own childhood? Those seemingly small things, a weird fear, a particular friendship, an object that suddenly meant something.
Yeah, how might those little echoes from way back then still be shaping things for you now?
Yeah.
The way you react to stuff or the people you connect with.
What buried connections, like the red lipstick, might still be subtly influencing your world today without you even realizing it?
Definitely something to chew on.